Hello and welcome again to another episode of Battle Ready.
Yay!
There it is.
Delayed.
So, this time we talk about a little bit of a retrospective on 4th edition so far. Now, we talked about 4th edition right at the beginning of the edition when we saw all the new rules and given our thoughts about it. We might have done a more video like this.
6-month period?
Yeah, right around like 3 months in, a couple months in. And but now we've had some good experience with it.
Yes, we are wizened.
We've had some games, right? We've had some games. It's been out for 9-ish months or so. So we've had 9 months worth of games. We played a lot of Spearhead. We played a lot of 2K. We've played all through the General's Handbook. We've played multiple armies, although not all armies, right? We don't have access to all armies.
We're missing 9.
Are we missing 9?
I think.
Okay, Drake thinks we're missing 9.
Pretty sure.
But yeah, so we have a lot more experience with it now. And so I thought now that things have settled down, especially if you didn't want to get into the hype, you're like, I'm not going to play, switch over to 4th edition just yet. I like 3rd just fine. And we liked 3rd, yeah. But now that the hype has died down a little bit and we have some real experience, what are the pros and cons of 4th edition? Drake, let's start with the pros. Let's start this video off on a positive note. Pros first of all, bottom line, is 4th edition better than 3rd?
Yes.
Better than 3rd?
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, let's start with some of the positives. What are one of your positives?
The game's streamlined.
Okay, just explain.
The game feels a lot simpler now than it did in 3rd, because in 3rd you'd have to pick a grand strategy and a battle tactic every turn and like 6 different army things.
Well, you still have to do battle tactics, but I do like that they have honed things in a little bit in 4th edition.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the great things is making everything an ability.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that gets rid of like 99% of the question marks. Are there still some? There are still some. There's still some edge cases, but way, way fewer because everything is declare and effect, right? And everything you do is some kind of ability. I like that they got rid of, and then they streamlined a lot of things. Like you said, they got rid of grand strategies. They got rid of heroic actions and monstrous rampages.
No sad about those ones.
Still sad about that?
Yes.
Did you like your heroic unbind?
Yeah. That one was the best. Best.
So I do think that overall, those changes have been really good. It makes the fundamentals of the game, not necessarily all of the abilities and things, we can talk about that, but the fundamentals, the bone structure of Warhammer is way better.
Is it an Ossiarch bone structure?
Yeah, they've been Gothazar harvested and built into something new and better. But yeah, I really think that the fundamentals of the game are vastly improved over 3rd edition. All right, what else is a positive?
Pretty new rats.
Okay, so yeah, we did get new models. Now we got new models in 3rd, right? And I don't know that really pertains to if the game is good, right? Mm-hmm. The models have continued to be good, for sure. The new Git Mob stuff is good. The rats have been really good. The bone, the Death Rattle stuff that's coming out has been good. All of that has been pretty cool. All right, what else? Well, while you think about it, one of the things, and now this was, I think, becoming true in 3rd edition, but it has been truer in 4th. And that is, I loved the battle scrolls as they've come out. Now we've had 3, something like that.
Some number of things.
A few of them. And on the one hand, where there are things that are problematic and aren't good for the game, they have not been shy about going in and just changing it. Like a great example is the Iron Jaws. They used to have, you could call the Wa once per battle, right?
Oh.
But now every hero can call the Wa. And that is a main battle trait change, right? That changes the army. And so in prior editions, I think they've been more reluctant to change things. And maybe it's because people feel like, oh, well, I don't want the book to be invalid. Mm-hmm. I want new players to. I think that you make the changes for the good of the game. Yeah. I think you just do that. And so I think that their willingness to do that has been really good. And on the other hand, at least with this most recent battle scroll that just came out, the spring 2025 battle scroll, the changes have been pretty light. I think that's been good to see that, there's definitely been points changes as they move things around a little bit, and they sort of swatted down some of the worst offenders. But otherwise, it's been a pretty light touch, which tends to indicate that, the game is mostly pretty well balanced. And I think at casual play level, basically balanced, right? At the tournament level where, everybody's honing things in, that's sort of a different question. But at a casual level where everybody's just bringing the stuff they like,
Bring the toys.
bringing your toys. Yeah, I think the games are basically balanced. We've had some games that, one person was winning harder than the other, but I don't think we had any games where that was because, I brought models that just can't compete against your models, right? I don't think we've had any games like that. When I've been blown out of the water, it's usually because I made a tactical error or because the dice just hate me. I did have a game like that where the dice were just like, no, you get to lose this game. So that can happen too. But I haven't felt like, well, of course I'm losing. I'm playing the ogres, so no wonder I'm losing. Like that hasn't really been an issue, I think, in this edition at all.
Mm-hmm.
What else do you think's been positive?
Piggybacking off your tournament thing, there's no more Sinister Six.
Yeah, I think. Well, we're not super into because we don't play tournaments. We don't look at all the metadata, right? But I know that at least what I've read online is that in the past there used to be 5 or 6 armies that were just
stompinating,
overcooked, right? They were just way overrepresented, way punchier than they had any right to be. It seems like that's been mostly reined in, but there do seem to be several armies that are struggling. And so
now I've got the sad 6.
They've got the sad 6 instead of the Sinister 6. So maybe they need to do a little bit more to bring people up. But what about the game itself, rather than just the meta?
Okay, I don't know.
Okay, well, I'll tell you another one I'd really like.
Okay.
Is I think the battle tomes, by and large, have been way better.
I've only read 2. I haven't had time to read the others.
Well, that's okay. I think they've been way better. Now, could they be improved still? For sure. But here's the things I like. 1, they got rid of points. Get those out of the battle tome. Those change so constantly anyway.
They're invalid.
Just who cares?
Wasted of ink.
Get out of that. Put that online. And I like that too, because I think that's a good first step that hopefully in a future edition, battle tomes will become digital, or at least the rules part will become digital.
And you buy like lore books.
Yeah, or whatever. So I'm looking at moving the points to digital as a good first step, and hopefully more of the tome will continue from there. So that's better. 2, I really, really like that a lot of the lore parts and the world building is written by in-universe people.
Mm-hmm.
It really makes the battle tome feel like, it's not just the omniscient narrator telling you what Skaven are like. It's like, oh, here's a report from this Cities of Sigmar talking about his what he did with Skaven. Oh, here's how the Dark Oath tried to betray them over here. Oh, here's what Nagash thinks about them over here. And so you skip the same information, but it comes colored in all these different ways. And I really, really like that approach. I also like that they intersperse the pictures of the models in with the War Scrolls. I think that's cool. So you can see the two things together. And then
there's little snippets of stories in there.
Yes. And even when they go through, they still do the thing where they go through every unit and sort of explain it, which is fine, I guess. Do you like that?
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
I like being able to feet.
But then there's like little sidebars where it's like, oh, here's where I had to run in with the Storm Friends or whatever, right? So I think that's pretty good. I think that could be improved. I would like to see all the rules, or nearly all the rules, out of there. War Scrolls, just get them out of there, right? I would like to see the battle tomes trimmed down to very few rules. Yeah, that's what I think. That's what I think when it comes to battle tomes. All right. So overall, I think all of these are, by the way, are fairly big pluses. These are major, major improvements to the game. However, it's not. Oh, and then there's some things that are like fine. Like, for example, battle tactics, right? I didn't like the way they worked in third. They're exactly the same in fourth, or at least for now, right? Because the new GHB that they announced says that battle tactics are going to be something different. As of the recording of this video, we don't know exactly what that looks like yet, but hopefully it's not worse. It's going to be hard to be worse. Right? Maybe it'll be better. But so it's like, I didn't like battle tactics third. It's the same in fourth, but it's not going down, right? It's not like making the game worse. Mm-hmm. So there are some things like that.
Neutral.
Sort of neutral things, right? But let's talk about a couple of things that are negative from third edition. What are some things that are like, ooh, that might not have been the right choice? What are some things that you miss from third edition?
Flavor.
All right, talk about flavor. What do you mean by flavor?
We've talked about it in previous videos where with the streamlining of the rules, there was a lot of flavor loss.
Yeah, I feel like in third edition, you had a lot of units that had their own special twist on things, right? And so it was like, oh yeah, the skeletons can fight this way because they're skeletons and they have this res. And then these guys over here can teleport in, but not in a certain way or whatever. And it's like, it was flavorful because like, oh yeah, these guys are extra good at doing a thing or extra special at doing a thing. And that was represented in the rules. Whereas in fourth edition, a lot of that has been streamlined.
Yeah.
Right?
There's a lot of rules that just have different names but do the same stuff.
Yes. So they have different names, but they're all the same teleport. They're all the same setup, 9 inches out. Or they have different names, but ultimately it just says on their war scroll anti-charge -1 rend or +1 rend. Anti-charge. It's like, whereas before those, Ard boys have it. Mm-hmm. What are the Stormcast ones that have it?
The Warriors.
Nope. It's the Sphere ones.
Vindictors.
Vindictors have it. There's a couple things like that are really good at receiving the charge. And in third edition, even if there were different units that were good at receiving the charge, they would have been done differently, right? This one would have been like, oh, if they get charged, they do a bunch of mortals. And this one, if they charge, they get +1 rend. And if these guys get charged, they can get out of combat, or something like they each have their own little thing. And I feel like in fourth, a lot of the time they're saying, just give them the anti-rend, +1 rend, anti-charge, fine. And so you do see a little bit more homogeneity. Homogeneity.
Human genes.
It means sameness. And so I do think that is a loss. Now, I will say that is, in comparison to what we gain, a small loss. Because I would rather see, because look, even now, it's not completely homogenous. It's not completely homogenous.
Or homogeneous.
Exactly. Things are very different. It's just more samey than it used to be. And I think that amount of sameness, it is a negative, but I think the benefit of it, of making things cleaner, making the game move smoother, and making it presumably a little bit easier to balance, is worth the cost. That's what I think. What else do you think is a negative? Okay, I'll tell you one. I'll tell you a negative that started off in my mind as a positive and over time has become a negative. What? Endless spells. Endless spells. At first, I thought it was a big positive because everybody, except Kharadron Overlords, can bring endless spells.
I'm sure they'll have Kharadron.
Yeah, when the Kharadron come out, I'm sure they'll have their own thing. Or they'll just have spells in a bottle that they can bring out. Yeah. Something. They'll figure something out for those guys. But you just bring the models for free, which is something I've been advocating for a long time. I think you should not have to pay points for endless spells because they don't do enough to be worth points, right? Points. They can't capture objectives. They can't. They can be unbound and banished, right? They can do all this.
There should be an endless spell that's just a unit to go capture objectives. That's all.
Like this endless spell is worth 10 on an objective.
Yeah.
Right. I think something like that would be cool. I could see that.
Ghostly toes.
So the positive I thought is, hey, you bring them. You just bring them for free, and that way you get to play with your models. Because I had all these endless spell models that I hardly ever played with, because I didn't want to pay the points for them. But now I'm like, okay, we can bring them in. But after having played with them a lot, I really think that, especially the generic endless spells, in particular the Purple Sun one, which I forget what it's even called, just called the Purple Sun one, because that's the good one, and the primal one
Are the only two good ones.
that has the gnashing jawas and the life
Burning
swarm.
Head and Life Swarm.
Those ones are both good, but if you bring those all the time, games start to feel a little samey, and
Faction
they are
spells.
way better than the other generics. I mean, just ridiculously better, right? It's not even close. So things end up being samey. You're always like, oh, I got to bring my Purple Sun. Oh, I got to bring my Gnashing Jaws. The faction-dependent spells have actually been a lot better.
They're fun.
And I think they are pretty fun. And I feel like they fit into the armies better, and I feel like they do a good job of evoking what you're trying to play, and I feel like their power level is about right. Right? They do a thing, they can cause a problem, but they're not like taking away your armor like Purple Sun is, or doing, going in and fighting and doing big damage like the Gnashing Jaws can, right? So I feel like I don't know why they haven't revised that, because it seems like the endless spells in a Battle Scroll update, they could just revise them, and they didn't revise them a little bit, because it used to be you couldn't banish a Purple Sun or maybe they changed it so that if you try to banish a Purple Sun or Jaws, they take 6 damage instead.
Oh, that's so.
Or what was the? I forget. But they have made changes to them. That's the bottom line. Is they've made changes, but they've still left these 2 lures
that are
very powerful,
and
probably too powerful,
that are
and
bad.
2 lures that are just like, why even have them? Why even take them? They're so weak that unless you have a very special list and a very special use, and you sort of build your army around that, it's not even worth it. It's not even worth it. And I also don't like how the endless spells are, sometimes they're units. Sometimes they can attack.
Either they always are or they always aren't.
Yeah, going back and forth on them, I think, creates a lot of unnecessary confusion. So that, I think, is a detractor. Something I thought was going to be a lot better, I think ultimately has made the gaming experience a little worse. Not a lot worse, but a little worse. If I could have my druthers, I'd rather go back to the 3rd edition version where, maybe you see one every so often and they're relatively underpowered. I think that was a better system. Huh?
What are druthers?
Oh, that's when you say, I'd rather. So you say your druthers is like the things I would rather have.
Okay.
So that's my other one. What about you? Anything else?
Heroic actions.
You miss your heroic actions?
And monsters, rampages.
Well, monsters still have rampage. And I do think it's actually better to put it on the War Scroll.
Yeah, but
I think that is better.
But flavored.
Well, I don't know how flavorful it was for every monster to have the same rampage. They all had the same rampage.
But it was awesome.
Yeah, I don't know.
And they had book rampages.
I think heroic actions, I know you miss them a lot. I don't know that I miss them that much.
I've had every instance where I'm like, but heroic combine.
Yeah, or heroic command point.
Or heroic would be awesome.
Well, that's the thing is you would choose command point 90% of the time.
Because it was
an additional 9% of the time you'd be heroic unbinding.
It was
and then every once in a while
you'd do best day ever.
You do best day ever. And you never do the heal one. The healing one.
There was a healing one?
You had to be out of combat to use it. You forgot about that one?
That's amazing!
No, it wasn't that good. But it was only good for casters and people who've been shot.
That's good for people who just finished a big...
Oh, speaking of people who've been shot, the new Look Out Sir, which is Guarded Hero, I think is better.
Okay.
Right? And some of the design work in that they've removed most mortals from ranged attacks.
They changed it to auto wound.
Yeah. So they've been downgraded to auto wound or done other things with it. But I think that idea of removing mortals from range attacks in 4th edition has been a good change. It's been a good change.
That's actually one of my downsides. Is I feel like they've removed too many mortals.
Oh no, I completely disagree. I think that they could still remove more.
What?
I think it's still too high.
What?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, for sure. It was still too high.
The reason I say too many mortals have been removed is because I'm like, these are big, scary, big men. Why aren't they automatically penetrating your save?
Yeah.
Why?
But the idea is if you're big orcs with your gore choppas or whatever, that's what the rend represents. Right?
Yeah, but what if you're stupid Night Haunt and ignore all my rend?
That is a big deal, right? Night Haunt. Nighthawk play a little bit differently. Caradron play a little bit differently.
Nighthawk break every destruction army. They break them all.
Oh, I don't know about that, but they do ignore the Ren, which is a big, big advantage against particular armies for sure. For sure. So overall, though, you look up the things that are improvements. You look up the things that have detracted from the experience, and overall, I would say majorly improved. The improvement side is just way heavier than the negative side. What do you think?
Yeah.
You think so?
It still makes my heroic actions.
We kept all of our 3rd edition battle tomes because we thought, well, 4th edition sucks. Then we could always go back and play 3rd, right? Because we got all the rules. We could just play 3rd. And 4th editions turned out to be pretty awesome. So I don't know how much longer I want to keep those 3rd edition battle tomes.
eBay.
Nobody wants to buy 3rd edition battle tomes.
You don't know that.
I'm pretty
There could
confident.
be some collector out there.
No, nobody wants them.
Well, what about the special edition battle tomes that we have?
I don't think anybody wants those either.
I mean, there's a chance.
Anyway, so I think that 4th edition, for the most part, has been a major success.
Yeah.
Does it have issues? Sure, but it has fewer than in 3rd. I really like the command point economy, the command points you can use.
Oh, my fun coins.
They give you enough that you can do stuff and it feels cool,
But not enough.
but not enough that you can do everything. So you feel constrained, which is good. Yeah, there's just a lot to like about it. And another thing that was good about it is the first General's Handbook was very safe. And by that, I mean they didn't come up with any new battle plans where they could make mistakes and mess things up, right?
There's whatever you like, we'll do.
Yeah, they're like, all right, what were the popular ones from the last several editions? All right,
Got it.
We'll take those. All right. So that way they had battle plans they knew would work. And then the season rule, which was the priority target thing, very light touch to the game. Doesn't make a whole lot of difference. And in fact, probably in at least half our games, we forget about it and forget to even use that ability.
And the other, 25%, we do remember it doesn't do anything ever.
Yeah, well, I don't know about anything, but it doesn't have the huge impact on the game, right? It matters in one combat.
I'm sure there's some tournament army that's like...
Oh, well, I'm sure the people that are playing tournaments are much better at selecting targets and the right kind. And that's a whole different thing. But in our casual play, it has been a pretty light touch. I'm interested to see what the new GHB is going to look like. Is that going to have way different battle plans? I mean, it says in the new GHB, it's going to have a totally separate battle tactic system. So I think it is going to be a pretty big overhaul. It'll be interesting to see what they do. But I like that the first GHB was a light touch because that meant we were basically playing Warhammer.
Editions 1 through 3.
Well, no, that's like we were playing 4th edition relatively plain. Maybe the little Parmesan cheese on top, but otherwise relatively plain. Whereas in 3rd edition, man, some of those GHBs where you had Merciless Blizzard, where the game just became about casting Merciless Blizzard, right? And getting your die.
Hoarfrost.
What was the die? The extra primal magic dice, right? Or you would play the one where you could have the guys, you would make them Galatian champions. Or the first one where you could have bounty hunters that could take over, just demolish the infantry guys.
Blade Guard.
So
bounty hunters.
It made each season way different, way skewed.
I'm still sad that the Ice Wolves didn't make it into 4th edition.
Yeah, and the only reason we played any vanilla is when we went to 1,000-point games, right? When we weren't playing the GHB, we're like, oh, this is what 3rd edition feels like. Because if we had just played GHB, we never would have known.
No.
So I like that this has given us a year to feel like, okay, we're feeling it out. We're playing real 4th edition.
No fancy.
Very close to vanilla. It's vanilla with a few chocolate chips.
Yep.
And then now it'll be interesting to see what the new GHB does and how they, sort of rev things up. Because I'm guessing if they're changing battle tactics as dramatically as they seem to say, I'm guessing we're going to...
lie and you've got
Sigmar lied about the General's Handbook.
Sigmar lied about lying.
Yeah, he did lie about lying. Or at least GW lied about him lying. But it'll be interesting to see where they go. So for those of you who have played many, many games at this point, let us know in the comments below what is the best things about 4th edition and what are some things that still need to change? And also, is this better than 3rd? Because we had a blast in 3rd edition. I mean, I know people complained that it was overly bloated and there's too much going on and everything, but we loved it. We
Yeah.
played the heck out of third edition.
I got to start playing with my orcs.
Right. So, and despite how our love for third edition, I think fourth has been better. I think it's better.
And there's also second.
And I don't think it's even a close contest. I think fourth is head and shoulders better.
So it's like Space Marine to human.
Yeah.
Because human comes up to about
not a Space Marine, a Stormcast. This is an AOS channel. So let us know in the comments your thoughts. Any final thoughts from you?
I think we got it.
All right, this has been another episode of Battle Ready.
Yay!
Thanks so much for watching.